And we are back.
Hey.
We are officially back. No more talking about what's it or menage a trout.
Two Haas.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it's green.
It's time to put our plan into action, I think.
Peace.
We're planning into action, guys.
So me and guys, we get on this.
So let's give Alice something to do.
First of all, I'm gonna see if we can get directions towards the library or other points of interest in the town as well.
In the city.
Yeah, city rather.
Yes, you will be probably most likely pointed towards a few like monuments here, like the main square. There's a few maybe suggested a bar or two. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say in space.
It's 5 o'clock.
And a few other sort of minor stuff like there's a place, there's like a museum or two.
Okay, so what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look to the captain and say, how about we go down to the more commoner kind of areas instead of this high-rolling society to see what the society truly is at the bottom.
You do have a good point there, Emund, and I can safely say that I am concerned with the way that the lower classes are treated here. I think it is prudent to do some research through the library, but I don't see why we couldn't take a bit of a detour getting there and head through some of these areas. After all, we might find things in those places which give us a better idea of what to look for when we reach the library.
That may contradict what they've already said about their culture.
Perhaps. We'll have to wait and see.
Well,
Either way, do be cautious, but don't anticipate the worst. Don't assume that these people are going to offer us contempt or there's going to be some kind of secret class war. Because for all we know, they might simply be splitting hairs with their laws and their society might be relatively peaceful. All the same, though, you know where your phases are if you need them.
Of course.
Of course.
It's always prudent to not enter any situation with an assumption in mind.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
Yeah. It's, seeing as it is your idea, Lieutenant Xoll, feel free to lead the way.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to sort of look around and I'm going to see if I can understand any of the signs and waypoints and stuff.
Let's say for navigating around, I'll say give me an insight and say science, because it's understanding a different culture's way of conveying information.
Mm-hmm. This is gonna be bad. So that'll
I'd
be
offer
under
to
12.
help, but I'm not very good at science, so
I don't science well.
One
I don't
success.
science, so
So 12 and a 13. So what is your target number?
12.
12. So I think you get 1.
Yeah, empathy doesn't really help in just reading signs.
You kind of spend a sort of a good hour or so like wandering around the place. You're not too sure. You think it's this way, you think it's that way, but ultimately, you start finding where the slum is. Your tricorders have been picking up some different forms of radiation, which seem to make things like which may seem to interfere with any kind of like communications or transporters to orbit, but nothing too severe at the moment. But it seems to get worse when you're going to the more slum
In our
areas.
experience, what kind of power systems do they have? Have they got some form of early matter antimatter reaction going?
Yes.
Oh, you know what this could mean?
What?
It could mean they're producing theta radiation byproduct.
Would you care to explain what theta radiation does?
Theta radiation is essentially a byproduct that's caused by the matter-antimatter reactions in pretty much all of the power reactors and cores you see in Star Trek, like warp cores on a Federation ship. Most civilizations have the technology required to filter out and get rid of theta radiation, but some societies have been known to weaponize it, like the Nausicans, whereas other societies, like the Malon, are entirely have a society that revolves almost completely around disposal of theta radiation, because if you don't know how to get rid of it effectively, you essentially have to deal with enormous amounts of a highly toxic, highly radioactive byproduct that can make people ill, it can damage ship systems, it can do all kinds of horrendous things.
Yeah, which is strange because in real life, when matter and antimatter collide, they just annihilate each other and make a lot of energy.
I assume it's something that is related to the fact that it happens within a dilithium chamber.
Yeah, it's probably to do with the dilithium or some shit.
What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take out my tricorder and scan the nearest person.
For signs of theta radiation poisoning?
Theta radiation poisoning.
Okay.
Alright, then give me control and medicine
Yeah, boy.
to, properly coordinate your scans.
And I'm gonna use a threat or thingy.
Okay.
I'm gonna add on a thingy, and then what does it do?
It gives you an extra dice.
Okay, but if it screws up, it's real bad.
No, it just adds to my threat pool.
Okay. Yeah, that's like 3. Would it count under xenobiology?
I suppose you're trying to scan them for signs of poisoning, so I would say yes.
Then yeah, it's that would be
So you got a 5, 13, and 12.
under 14.
Okay, so you got 6 successes, which is absolutely colossal.
Yep.
So I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4 points of momentum.
All the momentum. You might need to copy some
Only
tokens.
I need to
momentum.
get some more. I'll just add some more to the pool that's not being used.
We'll have to burn some of that soon, because otherwise, do remember, every time a scene changes, we lose a point of momentum, and at the end of the game, we lose it all. So.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so it's good to use it when you can. You got a nice stack of chips building up.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're walking through the some more sort of downtrodden area. You're seeing like people a bit more hushed. They're sort of dealing between each other's. They seem to be speaking a lot faster. They're kind of wary of you because you're pretty foreign. And you kind of like reach a sort of bit of a plaza area, and there's a few like merchants in that, and there's obviously some guy like shouting about he stood on like a plinth shouting about how the system is rigged and how we should rebuild it, as well as a lot of people aren't really paying him any heed. This is on level, dude. Some are trading, some are just hanging around.
If you don't mind, I would try. Sorry, go on.
I'm a bit quiet, sorry.
What do you want to do, Alice?
I was going to say to the captain, it might be prudent to go and talk to them.
I'm
Leave
just going
person
to
on
see
the
if I can
soapbox.
record. I'm just going to see if I can quietly on the sly record the speech of the person.
Do you have any tools that can do that?
What would that be? I don't know. I mean,
Don't really
I have
have
a
a
data.
hollow imager, do you?
No, I have a data pad, but I don't presume that would fit the purpose.
I don't think datapads do.
I'll just use a phaser.
Use the
Shoot the
phaser.
guy.
And you just record it.
Just zap him.
So that's why no one invites you to their parties.
Okay. Yeah. No. I have nothing to record him with, so I will pass on my thingy to Alice.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I would basically say that to the captain. It might be prudent to go and talk to the person who's on the soapbox over there.
Oh, yeah. What did you say about the theta radiation? By the way, how are they handling it in terms of
You do
my
notice
scans?
there is some theta radiation poisoning. Tends to be minor.
Okay, so they have some resistance, it seems.
So if you
That
want to
would just they're not exposed too badly.
So if we want to go and approach them,
Yeah.
that's what I at least think we should do.
Are you going to do it by yourself or with the
Well-
rest of them?
I was waiting for a response, but
From
assuming I
up.
don't.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, you can do it by yourself if you wish.
I know I could do it by myself,
yeah,
but
I'd instruct the lieutenant to use her best discretion, so it's literally on you.
Do not spook him.
okay, I just go over and start listening to what they're saying.
Eavesdrop. Okay, what role?
Well,
would
more
that-
like an audience member.
Literally just walking over and listening. They're on a stage and then yelling things. I'm pretty sure they'd be happy for
Yeah,
someone
that's a
to
good
stop
point,
and
yeah.
listen.
You roll badly. You don't hear any of it.
I suppose you could attempt to be subtle in order to avoid them changing what they're saying because they see like an alien or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try and be a bit more subtle about it.
That would
Sure thing.
probably be. It would be security and
Control?
Control, I guess. Yeah.
I don't think infiltration would count on this.
Actually,
If it was shadowing, then I'd say yes.
Yeah, I don't have shadowing.
Shadowing.
Shadowing. Yeah, I don't have that, so.
Okay, just make a roll. Do you want to do any
So
threat
it would
spends or
be-
momentum spends?
Yeah, I'll spend some blue.
Okay, spend the blue.
I will
you
spend the
want
blue.
some blue?
So, what was it? Security or.
Security and...
Okay.
You know what?
Security is 3.
I might say daring.
My daring is 10.
Very daring.
So that is 13.
Because you're a
So-
courageous boy. I mean, girl. You could be
So-
both. We don't know.
So you got one complication, but you also got one really good pass.
No.
This is
And
what happens
14.
when I roll crits.
So 14, 1, 20.
What's your security?
My security is 3.
Oh no.
So it's
Pretty good.
13.
It's pretty good, pretty bad as well. He's saying we shouldn't allow past grievances, past grudges influence the way we build policy or society. And then he says to you specifically, says, but they sent you, didn't they? Sent you to silence us, to throw us away to the waste bin of society.
I would have my arms crossed behind my back, and I would just give him a look of. But I wouldn't even change my facial expression. I'd have a very stern look, and I would say, "I have no intent on changing anything against you. We are not here for those purposes."
Then what are you here for, alien? If not to augment the will of the Justicars?
Interesting. I'm curious to see how she handled this.
We are here to possibly align you, your world with the with the
The Federation.
Federation. I'm doing well. With the Federation, and thus helping everyone on your world.
It's like,
in any way we
If
can.
your Federation is anything like what we have here, then it will only get worse for us.
Well, that is why we're walking around your with unsupervised to truly see what your world's like. Now, if you have anything that you could inform us on, that would be greatly appreciated.
I'm going to like step in and sort of try to pull Lieutenant Phelps like back a little bit, sort of like pull at the
Getting a little bit of doubt there.
at the sort of shoulder, like the piece of the shoulder like piece of clothing, sort of like pinch and like pull, like don't say that, and he's going to like immediately try to sense what the people around them I think like feeling.
Yeah.
Are we not here to hear everyone's opinions?
They might not.
I'm going to continue watching both the lieutenants.
They might not appreciate you colluding with them.
You could
Well, that is why I'm talking to them rather than the captain.
And yeah, I'm going to attempt to see if I'm sort of like going to look around to people and see if I can sense any emotions about how they feel about us, sort of thing.
Okay. I'd say make a basic roll for that.
So an insight.
I mean, like, I could probably give you the info of what's going on around you if you wish.
No, it's more like about just the general feeling of the people around them. Are they like feeling hopeful somehow? Like, are we
implying this
stirring
guy
up
has
shit?
much of an audience. He doesn't.
Okay.
He's like the random religious preacher they found on a
Most
street.
people are ignoring him.
Yeah, most people are ignoring him, just trying to carry on with their lives.
Yeah, I'm going to again specify. Lieutenant Phelps, we can't be seen agreeing to any kind of statement that these people can make. This is not our place.
This is why I was not agreeing to anything. I was simply listening.
So you just want to basically just talk to him, find out what he thinks.
It's just better to listen and choose to agree or disagree than to not listen at all. Do you not believe that?
Yeah.
I'm going to look. I give Phelps a long, unsure look, and then I'm just going to nod and say, I just hope you know what you're doing, and I'm going to step away and cross my arms.
And then I turn back to them and say, as you were saying?
He kind of looks at you, says, "You wish to know about us?"
I would be happy to listen to you.
He says, he looks rather sort of confused by this, and not many people take his ramblings seriously, it seems. He sort of steps down from his
He
podium.
stood on a soapbox. I don't need that saying.
his little podium that was clearly a box,
Yeah, soapbox. I know what he's doing. Yeah.
but more of a crate, and he says,
It's
perhaps we can discuss this more privately.
Of
We
course.
can we'd much rather away from the prying eyes of the public. It is at this moment, however, that I will spend 2 points of threat. Shocking, I know.
Danger.
But I will spend 2 points of threat
Mm-hmm.
to have the local enforcement, from what you can tell, heading your way towards you. Seems to be a good for
as
them.
opposed to heading our way away from us.
As opposed
GG,
to
Alice.
as opposed to walking away and minding their own business. They're approaching you. Well, they're approaching more specifically him. They're kind of with the weapons slightly ready. This could turn violent. He spots them and he says, "We need to go now."
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
I'm going to give Lieutenant Phelps a I told you so. Look.
I give him a look of, well, I didn't know that the cops were gonna get involved. Look.
And then like immediately like start walking, and then while she's not looking, I'm going to like stick my tongue out at her a little bit, and follow the captain.
Seeing law enforcement coming to arrive, I'll try and sort of move up to the other officers. I don't want to leave 2 fairly junior bridge officers on their own to deal with alien cops.
Okay. Are you sort of willing? Are you sort of more willing to sort of stand your ground and talk to them?
I
or...
think running away would be would be a worse situation than just.
Well, he says to you, like, listen, come back later. We can talk further. And he just starts running through the crowd, just as I'm moving through people, trying to like get away, and the enforcement does come up to you and they're like, what were you talking to him about?
I was just wondering what he was talking about.
You shouldn't listen to people like him.
Oh?
They're just troublemakers.
Troublemakers still have a voice?
Oh, like, I'm just going to just,
I do not mean to say I agree with what they're saying, I just prefer to listen to everyone.
He's still a public disturbance. We don't allow Dreadgars to hold podiums like that, especially without any kind of permit or authorization.
Of course, although I should stress that we were instructed to see everything your city had to offer.
Indeed. Why you would want to come here is beyond us, and we'd like to ask you to come with us.
I'm going to briefly look over to my officers to see what they have to think about this, like the looks on their faces.
I'm going to immediately approach the popo and sort of bow my head quietly, and then take out my tricorder and show the readings of the theta radiation.
Okay, so you're saying
we were only investigating the traces of theta radiation that we managed to pick up while scanning generally scanning the area. And we followed the trail here.
Could you make a roll for that bit of a bluff? I'd say you can use your medicine, and you can also use I'll say daring, because it's a lie.
I would say it looks like she doesn't really know how to feel about it and how to take them leading them off, Like,
it's gonna be bad.
I'm
going to spend 2 points of momentum, please.
Certainly.
Yeah. She isn't necessarily happy about it, but she's not going to argue against it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back me up, Captain. Because daring is at 7.
Oh, do you want help? I can help. I'm good at daring. Can I help?
I'll only grant like one of these I'll grant one of you assisting. I'll grant Alice an assist.
Ooh. How do I help? So
I would say for you would just be like, oh well, I was just like, while they were scanning, I was just wandering around.
Yeah.
So that would probably be a daring and
10 and
security.
And I'm not going to add any blue. Actually, I can add blue. Are you guys okay with me adding blue?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause I
Epps is
added
already
2.
adding blue, and it's just a case of if you succeed at this, then you give an
That'd
additional
be
point of
13. So
just roll 2 dice.
he.
8 and 3. So you pass with
What?
them.
You did what I did.
I got. What
Double
is
crit.
that?
So
Double
10. No, it's not double crit. It's 10. And that would be a 1 and a 3 and a 20. So that would be quite a good success, I'd say. You have to roll under 11, right?
Mhm.
So you get 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 plus, I'd say you hit the complication as well. And I believe you got 2 successes for that one. But you did hit the complication, unfortunately. So they do believe you. That is the takeaway from this. They do believe you. However, they say, we see. Forgive our transgression, but it would not be safe for visitors to be around here.
We understand and we appreciate your
We
concern.
would like you to come with us to a more safer area.
Oh, we will follow. Thank you very much.
And they do take you back to a more sort of...
One sec. Let me just... I've got to mute myself for a moment.
Okay. They take you to a more residential area where everything's a lot nicer, a lot cleaner. And, you are on track to visit the library. The way that I'm allocating the threat spend is, one is the guards come. There wasn't that many, there were like 2 or 3. And the other one was that the Exarch will hear about this no matter what.
You'll hear about this.
She will hear about it.
Exarch dislike that.
The Exarch
Sorry
will
about
dislike that.
GG. Okay, so we go over to the nicer area, and I'm going to do the same scan,
It is a lot less intensive.
but it's
Ooh.
still there, right?
It is still there, but it is a lot less intensive.
That's so that means that they have some sort of technology that does shield a little bit, but not fully.
Yes.
And only those that can afford it can basically use the partial shielding.
That, and you would reckon distance as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yes.
so that way we
They,
can
they are
bring
pretty.
it up.
They're pretty nuclear, comrade.
Mm-hmm. I would approach the captain quietly and say, we can definitely bring up the theta radiation shielding as a bonus of joining the Federation
Yeah.
during the next part of the talk. Should I draw up a list of
Yeah, you can draw
negatives
up
as to but Captain, should I draw up a list of negatives as to what theta radiation might cause?
Yeah, I mean, symptoms of radiation, theta radiation poisoning. If you want, you can look it up on Memory Alpha.
Yes, Memory Alpha is an
I'll-
excellent resource.
I'll have a look myself because this is information our characters would have ready access to. So, but yeah, as for that, just feel free to prepare a list of things for us to bring up next time we're having a discussion over this feast or whatever it is. Now I think we need to proceed more towards the library that's in this place.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to do some historic research related stuff.
Okay. So we should head to the library then.
Yeah.
So seeing as you're going to be investigating, who would like to lead the investigation?
I'll let Alice do that because I've been doing enough meddling.
Oh, and I believe that assisting was probably 1 die, but you passed with both.
Yeah. All assist rolls with
Okay.
1 die.
Okay. So how would you like me to handle investigating, Harp?
Probably going through the records, most likely.
Yeah, I think our best idea would be to go into the library.
Okay.
I'll put up a front that we're looking in it for cultural reasons because it's first contact.
Okay. What would that role be?
I want you to covertly look for any evidence of past regimes and stuff, and to
Yeah.
try and filter through the lies and find the fact.
Sombrero it.
Gaia. So I'd like to sombrero it.
Yes.
Hack it, basically.
And then after she's done her role, I'll do mine.
Alright, so what would that be?
That would be You'd probably want an insight roll,
Yeah, 9.
and I would say let's go science.
So 1.
History is a science, I guess.
So 9 and a 1.
Sounds
Are you sure you want me to be leading this role?
You've said you want to do it, so just do it.
Alright. Can I use one of the blue?
Yes, you can. You can also get assistance from whoever wishes to assist.
Who wants to assist?
It's hacking would have been a security issue, right?
If you were to hack it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
what we're
I'll
saying is.
help because I do have a bit.
Yeah,
of
that's what
hacking.
we were saying was hacking. So it'd be.
Oh, so you're trying to sort of gain complete access.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be
As much-
security.
Yeah. So security is 3, and would it be
it's-
insight still, or would it be?
You could probably say control. 'Cause you
Oh,
need to-
control is 11, so that'd be 14.
You can hack into it.
So, if you want to roll.
For me, hold on. It would be control, and then it would be security, right? So that's 13.
Mm-hmm. So you roll a 12. That gives you an additional success, Alice.
Okay, cool. And my control is 11, my security is 3, so that's 14.
So just roll under it. So 9, 14, 9. Do
Yeah.
you have any relevant foci?
I have infiltration. So, does hacking go into infiltration?
I'd say no. It's too broad. It's infiltration would probably be like going
Pretending
into,
to be someone else.
No, it'd be more of a go like sneaking into a scattered area.
Otherwise, most of my stuff is very. Otherwise, very human interaction kind of things.
Yeah.
Phases, hand-to-hand combat,
Punching
interrogation.
people in the face.
By example, and small craft. I don't think any of those really fit.
GG.
So you get 3 successes.
Yeah.
Yes. You find a history rather similar to Earth's. Like there's a variety of regimes and city-states.
Okay.
However, with increasing technology, they got to a point where the societies and countries started to merge, and you did have your fair share of sort of despotic rules in the past, but it seems like a lot of current social order is based on that.
Yeah.
So, in short,
people who were affected by past actions generations down the line seem to be benefiting from it from the way the system is set up.
I see. So in a way, it's like that they're so angry at the past that the victims of the past are like the kings of the current.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
So it was a complete shift. 180, right?
Yep. That's what the Justicars delivered. And still do. There is no you can find that merit is a foreign concept. Sort of earning something out of the merit is more of a case of you do your duty no matter what, and depending on your social standing is whether you get promoted or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of and your social standing kind of affects everything. It's all encompassing. It's who you know, the people you know, people you interact with, people you have to deal with. It affects pretty much everything: your education, the way you go, where you work, even how you're treated in courts. For some people below a certain point, they're guilty until proven innocent.
I see.
Some people,
They're
perhaps
all
forgiven.
kind of, in a way, the people of this world who are descended from like their history's version of the Nazis, for example, are now like oppressed underclass.
Say a group that was targeted by such a group in the past, they would be sort of raised up in the present. They would be their class of people would be recognised and say, you know what, we're going to afford them additional privileges and additional rights.
I see. So that's why they're standard
They're
greeting.
creating a protected class,
Yeah.
and you've got all these protected classes sort of intermingling with one another.
It's why their standard greeting involves explaining the past atrocities that were landed upon your people.
Mm-hmm.
That way, it justifies your station. I see.
You need to justify your station.
This is very interesting because obviously Starfleet and the Federation is absolutely a meritocracy.
That is correct. And it's been like this for a good 200 years roundabout. This is much like human society in the Federation. I mean, in terms of like cultural society, it hasn't really evolved much since then. It's kind of stagnated.
Would I be able to make a copy of this?
Be able to download a copy to your pad.
Awesome. I'm guessing I've made it a high enough roll that I won't be able to be, being caught looking at this stuff. I'm hoping.
You can kind of see that through the records that that person who was on the soapbox preaching sort of a different way is not really allowed or tolerated. It's typically a reason why they're in such a low station. But
Captain, sorry.
Hmm?
If you wouldn't mind if I had a word with you when we are in less company.
Okay.
Meanwhile, while that happens, I'm just going to read up actual information about the culture itself, just in case they do a pop quiz as to what we found out.
Yeah, and I am going to essentially, while all of this is going on, as I said, put up a bit of a screen. I'm going to sort of talk to the people who work at the library and give them lots of what they want to hear.
Yeah, you would find that most of the time they're dealing with various groups that believe in who are disadvantaged, who believe in the opposite. Like so and so should be taught because of some wild reason, could be anything. Maybe they've got a better economic system, but they're typically all grouped together under one name, and that would be the Dreadgars. Although,
wait, what? Could you repeat that? Sorry.
They're known as the Dreadgars. These people who do oppose the system for like various reasons, whether it be they view their particular people as superior or something like that. They're typically referred to as Dreadgars, and they're reviled by society. And in fact, they barely manage to eke out survival. And it doesn't take too much for someone to fall into that category, especially if one breaks social norms or ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also read up on the prison sentence times for this kind of believed crime?
Certainly, you can drop some court records, stuff like they view most of it as sort of sedition, or or assault.
We could totally take the evil route and just be like, we can offer to help to get rid of these people.
That would be against Starfleet's principles.
Yep, that would be interfering, I know.
The first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth.
Yeah, if we backed either side, that would be a gross violation of the Prime Directive.
Prime Directive, yeah.
But the question about the Prime Directive is, do you interfere if it is right?
Indeed, that is a very difficult situation.
It is
but
an
in this
ethical question.
case, we are dealing with a race that currently does not have an active conflict. True that there is some like resentment and some malcontent going on between people and planet, but if we take
it is higher than what you think. They haven't really discussed it much, but you can tell from the records it's a lot higher than
this race and then plunge them into a massive like civil war. we'd all be court-martialed.
GG, start new characters.
Yeah.
We should at least inform them of the
Yeah.
situation.
So what I want to do is I want to take this as a body of evidence so that we can communicate with our higher-ups and essentially say to them, like, look, we have the technology to make your world a better place, but in order for this to work, we are going to put forward some potential societal reforms, doing as little damage to their culture as possible, but trying to improve the quality of life for everyone in the process.
Okay.
That's my plan.
I'm going to look up if they had any history of people getting like theta radiation poisoning.
Yes,
Or is this something
that has been somewhat more common over the past century or so.
Is it worse around the areas where the
undesirables
undesirables are?
Yes.
Human garbage.
Well, they're not exactly human. But yeah,
Humanoid.
they're humanoid garbage.
They're all just ship posters. They all have like Kekistan flags in their helms.
They all make memes. They're just humble meme farmers.
And as the guy was being pulled away into the brig, he was reeing from the
He was calling
subwoods.
up his pure daughter Tay.
He was
Free Tay. Okay, yeah, I'm going to look up general history of the. I would basically look up the really generic history that they seem to be proud of about their culture.
It does seem quite like you can tell that it is somewhat doctored and glamorized. But, it's the revolution of the people and such. And you've seen that before in some text regarding some
The
societies.
communism.
It's not like that. It's more sort of any sort of populist movement tends to build we're doing it for X, Y, and Z, and then it's like, but we don't agree. Shut up! You're not X, Y, or Z, but I am.
Yep.
Shit,
You're not really X, Y, and Z.
you're not really X,
You're-
Y, Z.
Yeah, and that's where you just start to fall into the whole loop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the cognitive dissonance, if you will. They do have quite a bit of cognitive dissonance. This species, they from what you can tell, like a lot of either big prominent ideologies. Really
I
much,
would look up if
pretty
they
much
have
the
any
same
like
thing.
sports. I would look up if they have any sports festivals.
Yeah, they do.
Like what kind of festivals they like. What kind of did they do?
Why are you looking up sports festivals, might I ask? Anyway,
But not sports festivals in general. I'm just talking about festivals. Any sort of cultural things that they celebrate.
they have a sort of revolution day where they celebrate changing of the time and where things got better.
Okay.
Kind of stagnated.
What do they do on these days?
There's typically like a parade or speech, and generally everyone gets a day off.
Around these times, is there an increase in hostility in the areas where the undesirables live?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a feeling about that.
Other than that, I'm going to look up recipes of like the posher type, and I'm going to see if I can spot anything that might be like bad for us, basically.
Certainly, you have a look through, and it seems all fine. It's probably a bit laced with radiation, but everything is on this planet.
Yeah,
Mhm.
when we get
It
transported
is
back.
very nuclear. Well, theta.
Are we just gonna? Are they just gonna serve us some cram
just,
plus 20 radiation as we eat it?
just get some gas masks on and stuff.
Cram!
Just some sugar bombs.
Gonna
There you go.
squat around a fire, play guitar.
All I want to
Frickin-
do is use the toilet. All I could do is drink out of the toilet.
God damn it! When you accidentally misclick. Say, no, I don't want to drink that. Oh, God.
Oh God, why?
No, why?
Oh, God. I just wanted to pick up the item.
So I just wanted to pick up this bottle that was laid precariously on it. Sully like head first into it.
When you drop a load of items you don't need, and everyone's like, "Hey, you dropped this. Here you go." No.
Okay, I think we have enough information to carry on with the negotiations.
Certainly, you're I suppose this would probably be the end of the scene.
Could
yeah.
I
One
have
thing I
that-
wanted to make sure. What's a polite thing to do for like? I'm looking. Is there a gift that I can give to people I respect? Sort of thing. I would look it up in the
Gifts can be
database.
gifts can be
Yeah.
anything really.
Yeah,
Not
but
weed.
what's a good gift to give something like a new friend?
They don't really have anything specific for that. Usually just something, something that matters, something that maybe has cultural or emotional impact. So you could probably like get something from the old replicator. So this is from my people.
Don't give them replicators yet.
Yeah, just don't give them the replicator.
I'll give them
Yeah.
a 3D printer instead.
If we give them replicators, that would be bad.
Yeah,
No, I was thinking something along the lines of flowers, or maybe like a.
you could
box of
replicate some
chocolates.
flowers.
Small fairy doll.
Yeah, like I would conjure up some beautiful flowers from Earth, possibly along the lines of white roses,
So you'd probably
but thornless.
yeah, you'd probably spend that time going up to the ship, replicating it, bringing it down.
In a pretty little vase too.
During that time, would I have been able to like have this conversation with the captain?
Yes,
Yeet.
you may roleplay it now.
But yeah, I would put like a little bow and everything on it, and like a little card.
You get it, Heps?
Make it all pretty.
Can you play by their deathbed?
Jesus Christ! You really want to kill something like a session without killing anything? It's just like need to kill. Rip and tear.
You're playing the wrong game.
I know.
I mean, if this game is a little too sedate, a little bit too diplomatic for you, I could maybe switch to something more combat orientated.
40k.
40 cax.
Don't tempt me.
What was being said though? Alice said she wanted to roleplay something.
So what I was saying before. So when we're like away from any prying ears,
Yeah, we'd be heading from the library back to the building for this feast now.
if you don't mind me saying, Captain, I must say the cultural thing stuff we've read up on seems not to go against Starfleet or to say anything wrong. In my opinion, is quite barbaric.
I do understand, and this is definitely something that's going to have to be reconciled before we can make any formal diplomatic overtures. However, I don't believe this is an impossible task. Because I believe that I can attempt to use outsider's logic, possibly with the help of my first officer, and you and the other lieutenant as good sources of evidence. I can attempt to persuade them that their own society has reached a point of equilibrium where the atrocities of the past have been paid in full, and that they can begin to move forward and rely on personal merit and achievement as a metric for societal worth rather than a history of victimhood.
Of course.
We're going to have to be very careful with how we handle this, though. We're going to have to do everything we can not to cast any doubt on their belief of how people have been mistreated in the past. If we do, it will make it seem like we're sympathising with one side or the other, and it will completely invalidate anything we have to say. So, as much as their society may come across barbaric and backwards to us, I'm going to need both of you to bite your tongues to a professional level and stick to the story we're going to provide them.
Of course. I apologize for earlier.
Yeah,
I
nothing to
truly
apologize.
did not believe that it would cause so much trouble.
Often in Starfleet, you don't know entirely what the results of your actions are going to be. The only important thing is that you follow the Prime Directive as closely as you can, and when in all other situations where that does not apply, you commit your actions with the best of intentions, and base your judgments on the ethics and morality of those in your crew and within the Federation.
Of course.
Nonetheless, let's get moving. I'm hungry.
And I would follow behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay then. So the scene will shift to what is an opulent banquet. People are seated according to their rank and station, and you're served lavish meals. The Exarch finds your gift of white roses to be especially beautiful
Hey,
and appreciates them.
He immediately eats them.
nom.
They're for eating.
He, I would bow my head when I sort of give the gift in and sort of smile to myself as I enjoy the fact I did something right.
Right, so we'll take our seats at this feast then.
Yep, and there's plenty of interesting alien delicacies to partake in. Although you're probably sure that if you don't get any sort of theta radiation shots afterwards, you may be a bit sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we'll probably be able to get back to the ship quick enough to get scrubbed.
Its inoculation would be rather simple. I believe Xoll would. It's alright. Have a med kit handy. To be like, hypospray, done.
Yeah.
Yep. So, are we going to bring up the whole theta radiation thing?
Yeah, I think what is important is that we wait until a decent way through the meal, because we don't want to put people off their food.
Yeah.
But when it's gotten to the point where most people have finished eating, and it's just people drinking, which I'm assuming is going to be the case in this culture. They don't have some kind of weird thing where they drink all the drinks first and then eat the food second or something. Yeah, once we've gotten to that stage, I'm going to start to speak up and address the group, and I'm going to say, as I'm sure you're aware, we discussed the differences in our technologies earlier on, and how in our society we dealt with issues regarding theta radiation in the past, but we managed to help prevent such pollution in our culture, in recent years. However, obviously, your colony still is in need of our technology to help you with this, and we're more than willing to provide. But we went and did some investigation into the theta radiation poisoning that's occurring on the planet, if anything, purely out of compassion for your people. And we discovered some unusual trends.
Okay. She says, what sort of trends are the problem?
Well, we've noticed that in areas with a lower land value and a lower property value in the city, the theta radiation poisoning seems to be a much more prevalent issue. We believe that there may be less shielding and less plating on the conduits in those areas, and it's resulting in a greater amount of exposure, and also less medical care is provided to these individuals to help them deal with their symptoms. And now we looked into this because we were curious to see if we could find the root of the problem and help to prevent it in future. And we discovered that there is obviously a caste system, a form of cultural divide within your people. It happens in almost all cultures. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But we noticed that this divide meant that certain individuals were more likely to be exposed to the foul danger that is theta radiation poisoning, and we're less likely to receive treatment regarding it.
That is unfortunate. It's often the case with the people who need to work near or around said power plants. However, there's not much that can be done regarding
Well,
this.
there is something we might be able to offer. While we were conducting our research, we discovered the history of people and the tragic conflicts that occurred in the past. Again, this is nothing to be ashamed of. It happened to many of our cultures as well. Humans, one of the founding races of the Federation, have a great many massacres, even genocides in their history, that they've learned to overcome the hard way. However,
So I see. So the humans have learned from their mistakes and made
indeed,
amends.
and I understand that your people have as well. You come up with a system over the course of hundreds of years to help provide reparations to the victims of massacres and other atrocities that have occurred in your past.
That is correct.
Yeah, and we've seen this model at work, and I must admit, it's very well thought out and detailed. Though, from an outsider's perspective, I would like to offer an idea that might come across as quite radical.
You may speak.
I believe, from my observations, that what imbalances that occurred in the past due to these sad and tragic disasters and conflicts between groups of people, I believe it has been paid in full. Because while observing your culture from an outsider's perspective, I've seen that people, although there is some unrest and difficulty between groups of people, certain individuals who feel they are not treated well enough and others who feel they have not yet fully repaid their dues.
There
They seem to
are those who wish to return to the old systems that have caused suffering for a great many of people.
They might do. However, hear me out. I've noticed that the vast majority of your society, despite these divides, still operates as a cohesive unit. And although there are obviously some difficulties and schisms that occur between certain groups, on the whole, your society is not at war. This is not a planet embroiled in a civil conflict, at least not that I've been able to see.
We've had many increases of the dread gas causing issues and disrupting things, although they are dealt with.
Which is why I have a proposal for you. Now that your society has reached this equilibrium, this point at which people...
She cuts you off and says, "No, I do not think that. None of us think that. There is still much more to do and much more to go."
I see. I'm curious though, how do you believe these people have not paid in full when they are still suffering from radiation poisoning and exist in a state in which the quality of life is far lower than yours?
We all deal with radiation poisoning, but some of us, the more good and decent people, get better treatment when it comes to it. Those who do not, and those who are a burden to society, we cannot provide for them.
You said they were burdens to your society, but did you not earlier on express the notion that many of them are responsible for working in the facilities that provide power to your people?
They do, but they can be replaced.
Matt? Is the person who they were all glaring at before there?
Yeah. What about them?
Yeah, are they there?
No.
Oh. Can I just be reading the room then, as she's talking?
So, certainly you can be watching the room. There's people talking. There's.
Well, I just want to see how people are reacting to what she's saying.
Some are paying attention, like nodding and agreeing, and they seem kind of like sort of skeptical around Captain Kaval.
Okay.
Yeah, I will continue to explain the situation, and I'll say to her that to quote the human example again, because I believe there's a lot that they have in common with your species, especially in their past. They went through many periods in which people had reparations, and there were great societal shifts that allowed people to essentially be repaid for the sufferance that had been brought upon them by other groups in the past. And there are some groups that never fully managed to be rectified. To one example, the Native Americans, the people who originally lived in one country before it was colonized by another group of people. Their descendants still make up a minority of their population. And it's a sad fact to state, but they never truly got back to their old numbers.
Then that debt is not considered repaid.
However, they live in a high standard of living nowadays, and equal to their peers. Although their numbers aren't quite so high, the dangers and threats of the past are no longer an issue. They're no longer treated with the kind of disdain and abusive treatment that they received many thousands of years ago. Well, to be precise, 1,500. Maybe a little more. I'm not an expert.
So what you're saying is your society gave them, well, the humans gave them the wealth and the living standards.
They did. They essentially elevated them to a position as equals. And
as equals?
Yes, as equals.
She says she just seems rather like really just thinking about it is like, but they're not equal. Not in this sense. They have been dealt a great injustice, and they should be, and those dealt an injustice should be the superiors of those who committed them. It is only right and proper that this happens. If they are not, then there can be no equality that's achieved.
This is something I would have read. How many generations has it been since the revolution?
Let's see. Well, it's been about 200 years, so assuming they live around 80 years for, let's say 80 years due to the fact, medical technology is quite good, but it's not as good as humans.
Yeah.
You could say probably 83.
I would look like I'm about to speak up but stop myself.
Yeah, because I do have one thing to say to the return, which is...
In fact, these ideas that you speak of are very close to what some Dredgar believe. In fact...
You said they want to return to the old ways, but that's not something that I want to happen. I don't want to see your people cast back to the times before where you had these conflicts.
Then what do you propose?
Allow me to explain. The position you have them in now may well seem right and fair as a form of repayment for the things that happened in the past. But how far down the line does it take for them to live in this position? Do you propose that they live for 100 years? 1,000 years like this to pay back? How much is the blood of the people who died at their hands worth? And how long does this have to be borne on the shoulders of their children and their children's children and every generation afterwards? Where does it end?
Until it is repaid, unfortunately. I've come from a group that was, well, frankly, hunted and killed.
Of course, but how do you quantify? Where is the metric?
She just doesn't seem to understand. We will know.
Well, then how can you know that the suffering you place upon them won't one day outweigh the suffering that was inflicted upon you?
We will know.
Shift the nature of your society on its head.
We will know. We will know. And I have been suspecting this, but is this what the Federation gives? It gives a free pass to those who have committed crime?
It doesn't give a free pass to those who committed crime.
Yet I've heard reports of you dealing with such people. Malcontents.
So that we can understand that their situation is valid as much as yours is. We spoke to these people so that we could know how they exist, rather than simply taking your word at face value.
you could be easily influenced by their words, and I would suggest you disregard whatever there is to say. Otherwise, we may.
We come from a society where we do not simply listen to the things we are told, but we observe and we investigate and we come to understand in our own way the truths of the universe around us.
The truth itself is subjective. Truth has always been subjective.
Either way, our society relies on a meritocracy. We do not allow criminals a free pass, but we judge every individual based on their own merits. And as much as I understand that the tragedies of your past are very, very significant to your culture, and I wouldn't for a moment think of you forgetting them or forgiving them, I do not believe that the guilt of these atrocities is carried through blood.
She seems dismissive almost of what you have to say. Says, I didn't think that things would have to be like this, but I'm afraid we cannot deal with such a federation that dares to put the interests of criminals and Dreadgars above everyone else.
If
They're not equal. They have made it so. They've chosen to live like that. They've chosen to do those things.
If I may,
Speak, Lieutenant.
not to imply anything or presume anything. However, when were these atrocities? How long ago were these atrocities committed?
They give their she lists like a period of when this happened in their own sort of dating system. Although it roughly matches with around 300-400 years ago.
And not to misconstrue anything, how does your race age?
You mean
Like,
how long we live?
What? Yes, exactly. Sorry.
She says they live basically around 70 years.
If I may add, and
Well,
then I would sort of stand
sorry.
up and bring up my tricorder and say, I just wanted to bring up to your information that prolonged exposure to theta radiation causes not just the standard hallucinations, the fatigue, nausea, but over longer periods of time, cumulative exposure can cause cellular degradation and severely shorten life expectancy. If there is anything I wish to say as a professional person, doctor of medicine, is that
Professional person.
you might find yourself not living long at all in the next few generations, and we can help you with that as the Federation. We have the technology to do so, but in order to do that, we need to look at you. We need to see some improvement over the situation. You said yourself that these people have done something horrible. However, these are still people. They may not be equal to you right now, but how can you, if you are punishing them, should you not also be giving them a chance to prove themselves at least forgivable eventually? So instead of just
They do.
depending on punishment and making them basically live out their sentence with just punishment, why not give them a chance and let them prove themselves in order to improve their status, prove their worth?
They get many chances, but some and most don't.
And so I'm afraid that
There is one other thing that you're neglecting to acknowledge.
Well, I hadn't. Okay.
I'm sorry, Captain, but the lieutenant wanted to say something. I'm sorry. And I would sort of sit down and sort of like put my head down.
I'm sorry, if you would indulge me in finishing my train of thought, Captain.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say was that in human society, my culture and my heritage once experienced quite a lot of atrocities against itself, and while that is in my heritage, I do not take it against those others who are currently whose heritage may have caused that trouble for mine, as they weren't personally involved. I do not, from my perspective, understand exactly why people should be taking on the grievances from that
Sins
you
of the
have
father.
against their heritage. Yes, exactly.
Putting it more, a slightly bit more eloquently. They
Sorry.
do the Starami seem to operate on the sort of sins of the father concept.
And perhaps there is one other thing that I should raise, which is even if your society continues to persist in a manner where these current class divides continue to exist, if the theta radiation continues to be an issue, at what point does you refusing our help and refusing to attempt to reform elements of your society become an atrocity of its own, waged by you on your own classes as well as those below you?
Could you roll a diplomacy with I'd say presence and
Did I aid in this because of what
yes,
I just said?
you did.
Yee.
Hold on, I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to roll diplomacy and diplomacy check based on. You can all contribute in a different way because you gave different information, but Harp would be presence and command.
Okay.
Eps would be, he was talking about medical stuff, so medicine and insight. Alice would be, I'd say, what would you say?
Wouldn't be like a historical memory, I guess.
Going off of history, so I'm guessing it would be reason and maybe science.
My science sucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's start with the assist rolls.
Yeah, so you two both roll 1d20.
So mine is 9 because my reason's 8 and my science is 1.
You never know, you might pass.
Okay.
Yeah, you
So
got.
I'd say you
You
were supposed to
rolled-
roll one dice.
Yeah,
It just messed up.
Okay, so we'll just take your first die roll, which was a 15. Does that pass?
Well, my
Oh
mine's
no.
no, neither of them have passed.
Okay.
However,
Eps,
Nope.
I did spend 2
Mine-
momentum.
that was
mine's
a
9. So
that was a
yeah, I only rolled 2 dice. The other
So-
one was for the roll earlier.
yeah.
So it's a 15 and
First
6. So mine, yeah.
Then you rolled 17. So okay, make your dice roll, Harp.
Okay, so I've spent 2 momentum, so it's 40-20, and I'm rolling under 15.
Under 15.
Any successes I
16,
get doubles.
18.
So
5 and 2.
Yeah.
So
I've
that
got
would
focus diplomacy, so that's.
double it. She does okay, so she does seem rather annoyed by what you've said, and she says, "We will have to talk about this another time. You've given a lot to consider. However, such reforms cannot be done in one day."
If I may, please,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would sort of stand up again and approach the person who's holding the vase.
Yep.
And I would take one of the white rose flowers and say, you see, the thing about flowers is that when they start growing, they grow with thorns, and they grow into these beautiful things, But as you can notice, I've removed the thorns in order to avoid hurting you. And so I believe that it may not be possible for you to forgive the current generations, but at least think of the children who might be educated into living a more ethical life and grow up to be these beautiful things that might be worthy and absolved of their father's guilt, and so that they may grow and help you prosper. And I'm willing to do this as like a separate check.
Yeah. I would say do a looking. I'd say you'd have command on that one, and I'll give you a reason. Actually, yeah,
okay.
presence. Command and
Okay.
presence.
I'm going to spend the 2 points of remaining.
Are you going to add some additional dice with threat?
1. So that will be what?
Oh, and I totally forgot
3.
you would have had to minus off one thingy, so you'd only get one extra dice. So no, there was supposed to be only one left because a scene did end, so you would have lost the momentum. But
Okay,
you,
so
you'd spend one, so you get one extra die.
Okay.
And then are you gonna add on to any threat?
1.
Okay, you're gonna purchase one threat, so it gives you 46 in total. I mean 20 in total. What's your
And then
target?
My target is going to be 12.
Okay, so roll under 12.
And
9,
empathy.
18, 12. So you get to double it. So, you're... give you 4 there. Say...
And then I basically pass the rolls on to him.
I've said it like 3 times.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway.
I'm just gonna keep misgendering her.
Not her. I'm sorry.
You shitboard. Okay, so your words kind of cut deep, and it gives people pause for thought. But I'd also say roll the complication with that one, and the complication is it does kind of enrage the Exarch a bit. So it's like, we are done for tonight. If you kindly return to your ship, we can continue discussing this tomorrow.
Alright. Order C, this is the captain requesting for you to beam up.
4 to beam up. And 4 of you beam up. That's not how a beam up sounds, but it is probably...
Okay.
Okay, so you all beam back up to the transporter room, and Zolik does say to all of you, the species seems to be rather resilient to change. Perhaps orthodoxy is highly prevalent and stratified in their society.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny for a thing that just had a revolution over 200 years ago. Is celebrating the change, but it's just now like, nope,
Not gonna
ain't gonna
change.
change it now. We're Puritans.
So, what will be your plans for going forward?
I'm going to send a communique to back to the Federation detailing the events that happened.
Okay, make it in your captain's log.
And then I would consult with the first officer for what he thinks about what transpired and if he has any recommendations going forwards.
The Prime Directive is paramount towards these negotiations. However, that interpretation of the Prime Directive relies solely on the captain. So there have been instances
Yes.
of captains bending or outright violating said directive.
I hope you
I would not
understand.
advise such.
I'm doing all I can to preserve their culture. I simply want to encourage the kind of ethical
Certainly.
societal changes in the long term that may help them one day become a true member species of the Federation.
Certainly. We can present the requirements that the Federation requires of all of its applicants. However, it is up to that society itself to make such changes. While from what I've observed, the society is somewhat self-destructive and stagnant. It would
Yes.
not be an ideal applicant to the Federation, but we are welcoming.
Is this
Yeah.
happening near me?
Yeah, they're discussing in the transport room.
Yeah.
I would have a look of sadness on my face
Hmm.
as the concept of these people not being essentially being oppressed, and I mean serious, real oppression, for crimes, to children being punished for crimes they have not committed, for just being basically born into a caste.
Yes.
Whereas Kaval right now is just absolutely perplexed because she turns to all three of them and just asks, the question is, would it be right of us to refuse the theta scrubbing technology to them if they don't volunteer to join the Federation? Because right now that seems to be our main bargaining chip. But the ethical implications of refusing such aid to a society are massive. However, if they receive this technology without having to join the Federation, all I can imagine is that they will continue persisting in the way they have done, and there'll be one less reason why they need to join the Federation or change their society at all.
I believe they would use it as another method of using it against the undercast that they have developed.
They might only use it to scrub the radiation in the more rich area. What's more, if we knowingly refuse this technology to them,
then the humanitarian consequences could be exceedingly dire. If you're playing diplomacy with this captain, then it is clear that you cannot that they cannot know that you would have to absolutely intervene if any humanitarian crisis occurs.
You're quite right. We need to play in a sense. There is one thing that I could potentially do, although it would very much sour our relations with society, and that would be to find a way of granting the blueprints and required isotopes and other technologies to everyone on the planet as to how to create the means to scrub theta radiation, rather than simply handing it off to their government to make it public knowledge.
But that would mean that they would have to do nothing on their part to change or reform in order to be accepted into the Federation, which means that their society will continue.
So ultimately we'll be taking a risk if we continue down this path. We'll be essentially hoping that they believe truly that if they do not make some kind of societal reform, we will not intervene in the event of a crisis.
Certainly one can interpret the Prime Directive that way. However, they do not know too much of the Prime Directive, which can be useful as a diplomatic tool to induce leverage, but may also violate said directive.
I've got a lot of thinking to do. I hope you will appreciate that.
I apologize if I was too abrasive.
No, in fact, if anything, your reference to your own people's history was very helpful. It gave me ideas.
Indeed, humans seem to have an uncanny knack for having faced many problems in the past that they've now overcame and wish to spread that wisdom to others.
And as
Perhaps
for
it is
you,
due to your
Lieutenant
nature.
Xoll, your compassion for these people is quite clear. I think if anything's going to help us persuade them that we mean the best, it is your continued advocating for the well-being of all their people.
I would sort of look up and realize Well, I think and ask. I'm sorry.
What
And then
nonsense?
it would be obvious that I was zoning out for a second.
I was just saying how your compassion for their people might well help our argument. It's clear enough that it shows on your face when you're talking.
If I may speak freely, Captain.
Go ahead.
Casualties are unavoidable. One way or another, these people will be free eventually.
They may-
Either from being absolved of their, if I may cuss, bullcrap guilt, or just through death, and then they will have no more of the group that they wish to hate upon.
There is, of course, the very likely turnout that there will be another revolution, and their society will continue to have struggles between one oppressed society and another, without realizing that the only true way to progress is to make everyone equals.
Indeed, it seems to be the case with this society. Unfortunately, there is little we can do without violating our own principles.
I've tried to portray the evidence as empirically and logically as possible to them, but they don't seem willing to accept it.
They are.
The truth is often the hardest to accept.
Yeah, they seem very much like a society that feels more often than it thinks. So we
By
may
the
be
way,
advantage.
out of character,
Perhaps
I know
something
this is
similar
kind
to
of
yours. Oh, sorry.
this is like retroactive, but would he? What kind of reaction did the exarch actually feel? Because he would have been focusing on him, or her, sorry, as to how she felt about things, about his gesture.
Again, it seems like they're not used to being challenged on like these ideas or questioned. They're offering very sort of weak arguments. It's like they've never really had to sort of examine what they think, and any sort of adversity or like challenge to that could be easily put down by force.
If I may add, it seems very much on the lines that they have not ever been challenged. Well, let alone ever grown out of any beliefs, much like stubborn children.
So what you're saying is more that their ideas and ideology is childish and idealistic without any practical purpose.
Exactly. They have never considered beyond their own gain, in a way, such as children who haven't quite learnt empathy yet.
I have a thought. With the points you've made, we stand at a precipice here, and there's two methods with which we can progress. We can either play their own game and try to appeal to their very, very well stimulated emotions, essentially portray the suffering that occurs on their planet, make them well aware of it, and make the Exarch quite aware that it is her who stands between her people and the
Freedoms.
and this cultural renaissance they need. Or we can rely on the logic side, and we can state factually that their society has a great way to come before it can keep up with its competitors, and ultimately they exist in a galaxy which will not wait for them and their own internal grievances. And if they are to succeed, they will have to work together.
That is an interesting thing. Also, I just would like to remind you that that you've also got the that one from the planet who was on the soapbox. He was speaking of ideals very similar to yours.
He was, yeah. The question is, there's a difference between espousing our own ideals of the Federation and then backing a faction on the planet. We want to be careful.
Indeed, but you know, he's someone to seek out and speak to if you want to gather more information from the other side and other perspective.
Captain,
or if there's any more
if I may interrupt you, I need a moment.
Okay,
it's clear that these people see in terms of black and white.
Did you want to
If I may be,
Good
if I may
evil.
be dismissed.
Oh, by all means.
Okay.
Really, don't
we-
hesitate.
We can call the scene and the session to a close if you want. We're
Yeah,
gonna
I
have
think this is
around.
definitely going to be a two-parter.
Yeah, there's probably going to be more parts, and I intended it to do so.
Okay.
It's still the same episode, mind you. It's
So we're
in
not
terms
gonna
of
do-
like a series chronology. We're still on episode 2, and you will still be continuing with episode 2.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a two-parter yet. There's been no sort of dramatic cliffhanger where it's like dun 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 dun. You know, like
Yeah,
at the end of
Emund would just like walk off, and
I
there's clearly something off.
we haven't got to the cheese damaging the replicators yet.
Yeah, I will say, Captain may well follow Emund, not straight away, but catch up with him later to talk to him in private about this. But that's not something we need to handle.
So you'll probably be in your ready room.
I'll probably go back to training for a bit.
Yeah, I would immediately go to probably the holodeck and train as well.
Okay then.
Like while but I'm gonna take like extra long to take there.
Yes.
Just like strolling.
We won't do any of the reputation stuff because I feel that would probably be best served at the end of an episode. So we'll do that next time. We kind of started around like, God, what time do we start?
I think it's 10.
I
Around
believe it was
10ish.
10.
I think we're like 20 past 10. Would you guys be alright with starting around that time next week?
I can. I mean, obviously, I'll be working Wednesday.
Okay, that's fine. Additionally, do you guys have anything you wish to plug? If someone
wish to
watches this and they want to see other stuff you're doing,
I think I'll wait and see what the viewing figures are like before I start considering plugging my art and such on here.
I don't have anything to plug except a wall plug because I need to charge my phone.
yes, you should charge your phone.
Well then, you should totally check out Gilmore's Glorious Goods.
You little shit!
Now on
Fictional
sale for
plug.
$9.99. But that's.
We're gonna get sued.
I don't think we'll get sued.
I don't think Geek and Sundry is gonna
Then
sue
they
us.
wouldn't sue us. I don't even think they would notice us. No offense.
Senpai noticed me.
I don't know what you're talking about, to be
I
honest.
haven't
I
noticed
can imagine
that.
Alice would be quite flattered if they
Oh,
did.
I got Matt
Can
Mercer
they
to
at
like
least
one of my
sue you?
tweets once, and it was so cool.
We can counter sue him.
The society we
I'm
live
not
in.
gonna
For a
sue
date.
them.
Hey, MS, next time you do one of these...
GM for us, so we sue.
Okay, I'll close this out. You know what? This has been the name of the game. Star Trek Adventures.
Bye guys.
Please don't sue
Bye.
anyone.